Hello, we are Lunar Expedition team. We will talk about lunar reflection spectrum and lunar rocks types. The moon has white highlands and dark seas. An American lunar survey revealed that the highlands are composed of plated clays and the seas are composed of basalt. We like the moon and the space, so we wanted to study the moon. Currently, lunar research is being conducted by artificial satellites. However, exploration of the moon has the problem of requiring a lot of money and time. So we focused on spectroscopic observation. Spectroscopic observation allows us to identify the type of lunar rock without going to the moon and save money and time. We can also think of the moon from a different perspective than surveying with artificial satellites. The wavelength of light absorbed by a substance differs depending on the components contained in substance. In other words, the components affect the spectrum of reflected light. Therefore, we thought that examining the spectrum would reveal the difference in lunar surface material, and we aimed to clarify whether spectroscopic observation could identify the type of lunar rock. We proceeded with the research in the following procedure. First, we observed the sunlight spectrum, the moon reflection spectrum, and the rock reflection spectrum. The surface of the moon is covered with fine-grained sand called regolith because it was crushed by the impact of meteorites. Therefore, we used the reflection spectrum of powered rocks in the studies. Next, we compared each reflection spectrum and we have identified what the lunar surface is made up of.
First, we compared the spectrum of the sun with the spectrum of the moon's reflection. It was found that the moon absorbs light of short wavelengths. Next, we compared the spectrum of the lunar seas with the spectrum of basalt. The difference in the graph is thought to have been caused by a slight difference in the composition of the lunar basalt and the Earth's basalt. In fact, rocks classified as basalt also have a wide range of compositions. This is because igneous rocks are broadly classified according to the proportion of silicon dioxide and subdivided by other components. So Earth's basalt contains trivalent iron and does not contain metallic iron, while lunar basalt contains metallic iron and does not contain trivalent iron. However, due to the high similarity between the two graphs, the lunar seas are thought to be composed of basalt. Last, we compared the spectrum of the lunar highlands with the spectrum of pleasure clays. The difference in the graph is thought to have been caused by a slight difference in the composition of the lunar pleasure clays and the Earth's pleasure clays. The lunar pleasure clays contains more calcium than the Earth's pleasure clays. However, due to the high similarity between the two graphs, the lunar highlands are thought to be composed of pleasure clays.
We found two things with spectroscopic observation. The first is that the moon absorbs short wavelength light. The second is that the seas of the moon are composed of basalt and the highlands of the moon are composed of pleasure clays. In the future, we think it is necessary to consider ways to improve the accuracy of the data in order to identify detailed rock constituents. Thank you for listening.